Hi, I'm Rick Conlow. Thanks for coming today. Today we're going to talk about a long overdue subject, servant leadership. And I believe it's the antidote to toxic workplaces and bad bosses. Trust is broken in organizations today. You know, every year, and for the last decade, there's been numerous studies every other month that comes out that talks about lack of integrity, lack of ethics in organizations, not only in the U.S., but worldwide. And it's just gotten worse. And it leads to political unrest and difficult workplaces and negative impact on people's lives. Because as we know, what happens at work often affects what happens at home, and what happens at home affects at work. And it's just a turmoil that we don't need to have. In the pandemic that we've gone through, because of the illnesses and sicknesses and tough to get to work, and it's exacerbated the whole thing. And so we need to do better as leaders. So now's the time. And the data shows it. See, 81% of employees would leave their job today for a better offer. So there's no loyalty there. In other words, organizations aren't creating loyalty. Management inside the organizations aren't creating that. 82% of managers fail. So there's a lot of managers with a lack of skills to create good teamwork and employee engagement. And 85% of employees are disengaged worldwide. In addition, because of this disengagement, 80 to 95% of customer service management problems are management related, not employee related. But yet often the employees get blamed for it. And this costs the world economy $22 trillion out of a global economy of 85 trillion plus. That's significant. So it affects everybody, not just in the workplace, but in the community, in the church, at the home. So we have to do better than that. And it starts with each person making a decision. Now, you look at leadership two ways. There's other leader focus, and they focus on projects and profit, the company. And they're taught that in MBA schools and traditional leadership practices. And then there's a servant leader's focus, and it's about people. It's about purpose, about employees. They care about profit too, but notice they do it from a different angle. They start first with people. And that's what servant leadership is all about. Now, Simon Sinek has a description of organizations he calls the golden circle. And here's a picture of it. And I like it. I love how he does this. And he says there are three key questions organizations have to ask. The why, the how, and the what. And he says what most organizations do is they start with the what or the how. And then they go outside in to the why. And so what they're looking at are their processes and the result that they want, or their products and the results that they want. Then they get to the why about who are we, what makes us different, what do we believe in, okay? And so it's the purpose. And organizations that focus from the inside out do a much better job because that's where they begin from. And so it provides a culture inside the organization that people want to be a part of. And that's good. I like this. But I think even here, as good as this is, it's forgotten one piece. I mean, what's missing there? See, I believe what's missing is the who. We need to add the who, and the who is about the people. You know, organizations tend to focus on what they're all about. Like I said earlier, servant leaders begin with people. And that's where we need organizations to be. People power will revolutionize leadership, thought, and practice. It's begun. There's good organizations that are beginning to do this, like Patagonia, for example. They want to make the world a better place. And they're a great organization, their culture, and they focus on people, and that's what they're trying to do. And they sell clothes, outdoor clothing, for crying out loud. See, notice they didn't say we want to make the most money, or we want to have the best products, okay? They want to make the world a better place. That's what I'm talking about with servant leadership. Servant leadership is needed and wanted. Employees today want to be respected, valued. They want to learn. They want to grow. They want well-being. They want work-life balance. They want to have some options in terms of where they work, remote, hybrid, that kind of thing. They want to partnership. They want purpose too, and they want career development. Now, the great resignation that we've gone through as part of this pandemic has accelerated this desire because of the difficulties that we're facing, and it's highlighted the problems in organizations and the problems with leadership thought today. If companies who are grappling with keeping and attracting people want to have great employee retention and engagement, they've got to change as leaders. They got to be better. And servant leadership has been proven as the way to do it. Now, what is it about? I found this quote by Clarence Francis, and this came from the 50s. So it was a while ago. So servant leadership isn't necessarily a new thought, but it isn't one that people bought into. And he said this: you can buy a man's time. You can, and of course, that could mean people's time today. You can buy a man's time. You can buy physical presence at a given place. You can even buy a measured number of muscular motions per hour per day. But you cannot buy enthusiasm. You cannot buy initiative. You cannot buy loyalty. You cannot buy devotion of hearts and souls and minds. You have to earn these things. Now, let me give you an example why companies aren't doing that. My brother got an MBA, worked for Medtronic, and, excellent job. And he had an opportunity to go to another company in the medical field, and they flew him to Chicago. He's in the compliance area, which is huge for the medical industry. And they wined and dined him, and they kept telling him all the good things that they have and the benefits and why they're the best place to work, and they have, prestige of being there, and they're doing good work and all this stuff. And, that's what most companies do when they try to attract top talent. But what they didn't do is they never zeroed in on what he wanted for his family. He would have to move. He had a daughter who was going to be graduating from high school in a year and a half, and that would uproot her at a critical time in her life. And they never addressed that. And it left a hole, so to speak, in his heart. And so when they asked him, will you take the job, when he was in Chicago, he said, I'm going to have to think about it a little bit more. Now, what is there to think about? You should love to want to work for us. See what I'm talking about? That's the attitude of companies today. Servant leadership focuses on the unseen. Managers, traditional leadership, tends to focus on the seen. The seen is who we are, our products, our services, our buildings, what we're doing, how we look, our awards, that kind of stuff, our profit, And the unseen is what that quote was all about. Enthusiasm, desire, goals, dreams, the spirit of a person, the heart of a person. That's what's missing in a company. Servant leaders know that, and they focus on people. So I'm just going to share a few things with you about what that looks like. Servant leadership is about giving. It's not taking. It's about the relationship more than it is about the reporting structure in the organization. It's not I'm the boss and you're subordinate. It's that we're people doing a job. We all have a role. Let's do it together, and let's do it well. Servant leaders have these 7 signature traits: integrity, vision, inspiration, competence, heart, humility, and they lead by example. They just don't tell you what to do, they do it too. And notice integrity started it all. They do it honestly and genuinely. Now, in further videos, I'll go into these in more depth. I wanted you to see what these look like in this initial video training. And then there's 5 dynamic behaviors that follow up those traits. They lead by example with character. So you can count on them. They'll do what they say they're going to do. They care. They want their team to be successful, so their actions and their decisions and their strategies help their team win, because they know when the team wins, they win. Help other people be successful, and you'll be successful. They really do care. They don't make it up. They believe in it. And then they communicate well. The number one thing that comes up in employee engagement surveys is we don't communicate around here. Well, they do. They do it in meetings, one-on-one, informally. They keep in contact, and they do it positively. And then, of course, they're consistent in their approach their relationship with you, and they're consistent in their focus on goals and plans. You know, one manager I came across, hard driving, you know, went to MBA school, going to charge and make it work, and it's his way or the highway. And he changed priorities every day depending on his mood. And 6 months he cost this company, you know, $1 million, and he got fired. That's the servant leaders. You can count on them. They stay the course. And then they have commitment. And who they have the commitment to? They have commitment to the people. Certainly they have commitment to their organization. They know you do it through people. And so they keep working on it. They'll keep learning. They give you an opportunity to learn. They have an open mind. They listen. And they'll even admit a mistake. So they have a certain level of humility in terms of being in a role that affects people's lives. That's what servant leadership is all about. Dr. Martin Luther King said this: "May I stress the need for courageous, intelligent, and dedicated leadership. Leaders of sound integrity. Leaders not in love with publicity, but in love with justice. Leaders not in love with money, but in love with humanity. People. Leaders who can subject their particular egos to the greatness of the cause." That's the kind of leadership I'm talking about. It's the kind of leadership exhibited by Nelson Mandela and Mother Teresa. These people are known worldwide because of how they treated others and how they were steadfast in their approach and how different it was and how they led people. And that's what we're looking at. Now, you don't have to be on a world stage to do this. You can do it in your department or in your whole organization and get significant results. And that's what people are looking at. Center for Creative Servant Leadership. Robert Greenleaf said this: "Servant leadership is a philosophy and a set of practices that enriches the lives of individuals, builds better organizations, and ultimately creates a more just and caring world." Some people say this is weak leadership. It's touchy-feely. Now, research shows, and you'll see in this chart here, that servant leadership gets the best results. On the left, the bottom bar is Fortune 500 companies. The middle bar are the good to great companies, talked about Jim Collins. And then the final bar on the right, which is the tallest, the most effective, is servant leadership. And it shows the results of servant leadership in organizations. So the key question is, what are you willing to do? What's your next step? Will you be able to make a commitment to study and to learn and to make some adjustment in your behavior, as well as your values and approach to interacting with people? And you have to be a student of the game. It takes change, no doubt about it. But the result is tremendous in terms of the payoff, not only for the people you work with and the organization that you work with, but for yourself and your own self-esteem and feeling of the impact that you're making in this world. So I appreciate you coming. Take a look at my servant leadership book. If you like the video, put a thumbs up on the bottom. There's some resources on the bottom here that you might like as well. We appreciate you coming. And let me say this: if serving is below you, real leadership is beyond you. Servant leaders walk the talk. I have this dream that soars on golden wings. I visualize your achievements, your legacy that sings. I do not know all about your awesome goals or your persistent efforts to raise the bar. I only know you can be the best, if not a superstar. Thanks for coming.